Hi, this is Shilpa here. Now today let me share with you an interesting case which made me think and ponder over the more deeper correlationship between isopathy and homeopathy. It helped me actually sort of think about where does it all come from, the source of our remedies and the connection with our deeper selves. So this was a patient I saw in the student clinic at a college. I was working as a supervisor and it was an acute clinic. So what I saw was patients who just came for very basic acute homeopathy, and we spent about a few minutes, 10-20 minutes with those patients, got whatever information we could, and then prescribed them the medicine. So this was a case of one of the students in the clinic, and she complained of this severe ear problem, and she's had an infection since a few days, and a throat infection which has now gone to the ears. And she went to the doctor, and the doctor said there's a severe retracted eardrum, and so she had total hearing loss and was prescribed antibiotics. And she wanted to try homeopathy because she was a student and she wanted to really see what it can do for her. So when the case was taken, she said there's no pain, there's just a lot of pressure. But she had high fever for about 2 days before this, and she was very drowsy. She had lost all appetite. Her thirst was quite high, but she was quite tired and exhausted and low on energy. The only other physical peculiars we could get was that there was a lot of nausea when she ate, and then there were cracks at the corner or sides of the lips, which was again a part of the fever picture as well. So when we traced into the history of the presenting complaint, she had left-sided ulcerated sore throat a couple of days back, and then she had the severe pain then, which was shooting up to the ear, and lots of yellow mucus from the throat. So she had self-prescribed Hip-Self, which didn't do anything, and then she went to the doctor and was advised antibiotics, and she was quite sort of adamant, no, I want really homeopathy to work, and I wanted to see how it works. So she had this tendency to sore throats, and she's had homeopathy before for that as well, and she's had a past history of tonsillectomy. So she's had homeopathy on and off, which didn't really touch upon the sore throats even after she's had a tonsillectomy. So we took a very basic repertorization here. There was nothing much we could get apart from this sort of, the rubrics which I used was using a Boger's approach where there were pathological generals there. So the 4 things I found interesting were this retraction of the eardrum, deafness, tonsil, ear pain shooting into, and cracks in the corners of the mouth. And I did a very basic repertorization here. So as you could see, we have some of the remedies which come up: silica, myrrh, lachesis, nitric acid. But I found something very interesting. There was one myrrh here, and there was another myrrh dulcis here. So I was trying to understand. I've never actually given myrrh dulcis, and I realized it's a chloride of mercury, and it has this very specific action on the tympanic membrane and retraction, and then it has this closure of the eustachian tube in kids with otitis media. Now she had this closure of the eustachian tube, and that was the whole reason there was this negative pressure build up there. So there was no other myrrh which had this absolute specific sphere of action around this area. And I thought that was interesting. We've never tried that. Let's work with that. So she was given myrrh dulcis based on this very strong symptom, and also because it came up quite high. And she was given a 30 potency because it was very acute, localized. I was just looking for that localized action so that she can actually come out of that state, to be given every 2 to 3 hours for a couple of days. I said, call me within a day or so. If you're not feeling better, you might have to take the antibiotics. So that was how we started off. And she calls me after the 2nd dose, and she says she heard a pop sound in the ear and the hearing came back. And then a couple of days later, she noticed there was a rash on the back of both her knees. Now, she had a similar rash as a child and throughout her childhood. And then she said that she's felt better than she's ever felt in years. Now, that was very interesting because normally with acutes, you're just sort of looking at a localized amelioration and then you call them again, look for a deeper sort of stage 3, stage 4 prescription and go from there. But in this case, this was a real dramatic thing which happened, and then you realize a remedy is given at stage 2. It's producing a reaction which is more deeper than expected. Obviously, it's matching at a more deeper level. And so we went into the history of the childhood and the past history, and it revealed a typical Merck constitution, which is commonly seen in our practice. Sometimes the acutes bring up a plethora of PQRS, which actually is the simillimum for that patient. However, there was something she mentioned which was quite interesting for me. And she said her mum had a history of mercury poisoning just before conception. Now, one thought in my mind was it because of the mercury poisoning that she's showing symptoms of mercury as a constitutional? Just like the way nosodes happen, there is an infection and you have the effects of those. Or was it just a coincidence? So this is my question for you. Was mercury prescription isopathic or homeopathic? And is there a difference? I look forward to your answers, and I'll see you with some more information on this next time. All right then. Take care and have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.